Countless warriors of the Lizardmen tribe were charging forward, weapons raised. These monsters appeared without a sound, without any warning. Lin, however, was unfazed. How they appeared didn't matter. All he cares about are the juicy points they give. Lizardman mages in their rear using spells, the sky raining fire meteors continuously. Lin directed his skeletal warriors to charge at the Lizardmen warriors. A crimson glow emanated from each skeletal warrior's weapon. With their rampage strikes, not a single Lizardman could withstand more than 2 slashes. Lin raised his hands and used corpse explosion. A thunderous boom echoed. Explosions of corpses wildly spread. The Lizardman warriors fell one by one. In mere moments, hundreds of Lizardman warriors were annihilated, and Lin's score increased by 6,000. Inside the monitoring room, the examiners were shocked by the sudden point increase. It was clear that Lin possessed an overpowered area of effect skill. Several examiners whispered amongst themselves, suggesting that Lin's class might have surpassed the legendary tier. Another person shook their head, indicating they should reserve judgment for now, especially since Lin's level was still relatively low. Inside the arena, a new wave of monsters appeared. The ground trembled as if an earthquake was occurring. The corpses vanished as if swallowed by the ground. The sky grew even murkier and more ominous. Suddenly, a vast number of monsters appeared from all directions. The monsters appeared from everywhere, groups of 5, forming small squads of Lizardman archers and fighters. At least 40 squads spread out around the perimeter. From a distance, it appeared as though Lin was completely surrounded. Lin realized this was the start of the second phase. Not only had the monsters increased in level, but their numbers had also doubled. At this moment, Lin was pondering a different problem. Given the current difficulty, other classes would have a tough time passing through the second stage. Even if they managed to do so, it would consume a significant amount of time. The second stage was far more challenging. With just a 1-level increase and a doubling in the number of monsters, these 2 changes alone exponentially raised the difficulty. With the addition of Lizardman archers, who were widely regarded as the counter of mages, this change would deter most mage-type professionals. Lin's suspicions were correct. Inside the monitoring room, discussions revolved around the fact that in the history of their empire's final examination, very few had ever cleared the second stage. The battling realm had 5 phases in total. The current record was clearing the 3rd phase, and this record was set over a century ago. Since then, no one had ever broken this record. The examiners were all speculating, wondering if Lin could shatter the old record. Many had great faith in him, but they were clueless about the exact events happening inside. All they could do was keep their eyes glued to the leaderboard. At this very moment, the leaderboard updated again. Lin's total points had soared to 34,000. They soon realized that Lin had entered the second stage and subsequently eliminated over 200 monsters. One examiner remarked, "These second-stage monsters only increased by 1 level. They pose no threat to Lin," saying Lin was practically farming points. If he had the authority, he'd up the difficulty. Another examiner chimed in. He wanted to toss in a few dozen bosses for Lin to take on. Now that'd be entertaining. In the capital of the empire, below stood the renowned Jiajing city, a colossal door hovering mid-air. Normally, this tower remained hidden. Its appearance signified the examination day of the empire. This was the trial tower's true form. Suddenly, the sky darkened, and the temperature dropped sharply. Nightfall seemed to descend instantly, as a malevolent black beam shot from the heavens, speeding towards the trial tower. A massive golden ethereal hand manifested in the air, attempting to block the sinister beam. A mocking laughter emanated from within the beam as its dark glow intensified. A cold voice chuckled twice, proclaiming, "You cannot stop me." In the center of the darkness, a massive demonic skull appeared. The skull sported 2 horns and sharp fangs, looking exactly like the depiction of demons described in books. The dark beam collided with the massive golden hand, both disappearing without a trace or sound. Suddenly, the sinister beam split into one part clashed with the golden light. The other dramatically increased its speed and in an instant swiftly entered the trial tower. Once again, a giant hand materialized in the sky, firmly grasping the demonic skull. The demon head laughed, proclaiming that it was just a clone, but as for the little one inside the trial tower, before he could finish his sentence, with a loud bang, the demonic skull was crushed to pieces. 3 people appeared beside the trial tower, hovering in midair. They hadn't expected that the bastards from the abyss would launch a surprise attack. One of them made contact with the trial tower to gauge the situation inside. They discovered that something had sneaked in. They realized that the abyss's target was the examinees within the battling realm. When asked how long it would take to eliminate the threat, one of them responded, "An hour." Meanwhile, inside the trial tower's battling realm, all the students were fervently battling monsters. Suddenly, all of the monsters vanished. Immediately after, the landscape transformed. The atmosphere became even more oppressive in an instant. Lin immediately gathered his skeletal warriors, shielding himself. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice calling out to him. Turning around, he saw Charlotte. It was unexpected for Lin to encounter another person in the battling realm. Both of them were clueless about the ongoing situation. Charlotte mentioned that she was fighting monsters when they abruptly vanished. At first, she was somewhat startled, but with Lin by her side, everything seemed less terrifying. Following that, streaks of light began to pierce the pitch-black battling realm. One after another, examinees appeared within. Then, a figure emerged. Following him, a voice echoed, belonging to a tall figure with white hair. He introduced himself as Bai Yiwan. Upon hearing this name, everyone's eyes widened in shock. Bai Yiwan was one of the top powerhouses in the empire, revered by many as the White Divine. His voice instantly caused a powerful resonance within the battling realm. Not only did White Divine's voice reverberate in the battling realm, but it also echoed throughout every examination site. In the monitoring room, Elder Ning's expression shifted slightly, unsure why the White Divine would make an appearance. White Divine's voice rang out again. Demons from the abyssal world have invaded the battling realm. White Divine and others were currently repairing the rules of the battling realm, and the process would take about an hour. These abyssal demons were targeting the examinees. In the upcoming hour, everyone needed to protect themselves. He believed that as long as everyone united, the invaders from the abyss would be powerless against them. Finally, he proclaimed, "We, the people of the great empire, fear no battle and face death unflinchingly." His words, filled with intense emotion, resonated powerfully. The examinees, all young and full of vigor, were filled with heightened spirits. Emotions ran high, and shouts of determination erupted from the crowd. Even Charlotte swept up in the fervor, wanted to join in the shouting. However, seeing the still silent Lin, she restrained herself, lowering the hand she had raised. Lin started to think rationally. The teachings from his youth had always emphasized the terror of the abyss. It was a realm filled with countless monsters, innumerable demons, numerous dungeons, and abundant treasures. Rumors had it that even the weakest monster within the abyss was of level 70. Elder Ning thought to himself, how could something like this happen? He appeared much calmer than the other examiners, some of whom showed clear signs of panic. The attack from the abyss was deliberate, targeting the prodigies participating in the 5th round of the final examination. Those who could enter the battling realm were all future prodigies, representing the future of the empire. This move by the abyss was undoubtedly insidious. Suddenly, Elder Ning spoke, causing the other examiners to fall silent. His sharp gaze scanned the room, commanding them to inform those outside not to panic and to trust in the White Divine. Everyone chose to believe in the White Divine, and they began to pray for the examinees within the battling realm. The atmosphere inside the battling realm became even more oppressive. Suddenly, a crimson moon appeared in the sky. Some recognized it immediately. It was the blood moon of the abyss. Clearly, the abyss was making its move. Within mere minutes of White Divine finishing his speech, every student was battle-ready. This was the exam area just for the combat professionals. Thus, there isn't any support professionals. The students organized themselves in a battle formation. Knights stood at the forefront, followed by mages, and then archers. An icy voice echoed, looking over the young students, truly the future of the empire. He then claimed that sadly, all of them will die. The voice proclaimed that an hour was more than enough to slaughter them, lamenting only that they couldn't bring back their succulent flesh. This chilling voice, accompanied by the crimson-red moonlight, sent shivers down many spines. A flash of disgust crossed Lin's face. Suddenly, someone screamed. Under the moonlight, a gigantic figure appeared within far. Detection spells were instantly launched toward it, raising gusts of wind. Level 19 Lizard Man Warrior, Abyssal Corruption. Someone hastily recalled that the battling realm had a level cap, with 19 being the highest. Before they could finish their thought, they were silenced, as numerous figures appeared behind the initial giant. Within moments, at least 100 in number, slowly moving towards them. All were level 19 creatures, entirely corrupted by the abyssal power. Each monster stood at a towering 3 meters, exuding a terrifying aura. They collectively advanced toward the students, causing the ground to tremble with each step. Under the moonlight, the monstrous figures looked more grotesque and terrifying than ever. Charlotte's face turned pale with fear, and she instinctively moved closer to Lin. It seemed that Lin provided her with a sense of security. After all, these students were merely 18 years old and had never experienced a real battlefield. When had they ever seen so many terrifying creatures? One by one, their legs trembled with fear. Much of their earlier bravery had been drained away. Lin looked at the monsters carefully. These weren't ordinary monsters, but he believed he could handle them. A thought crossed his mind. If these creatures were corrupted by the abyssal power and had mutated, could they grant experience points too? The group of massive lizard men was slowly approaching. They weren't in a rush, but inching closer as if taking their time, savoring the moment. It seemed to be toying with them, not eager to finish them off at once. The chilling voice of a demon echoed once more. The voice taunted and mocked the students without end, sarcastically repeating White Divine's earlier words. Unity can overcome? He said there are just 100 of these monsters, almost the same numbers as the students, asking if the students want a one-on-one or a group brawl. The demon then burst into malevolent laughter, its voice further shattering the spirits of the people. As the monster approached, the students retreated in fear. Richard's face had gone deathly pale, his legs shaking as he stepped back. Just the sight of these creatures had drained him of the courage to even draw his weapon. The paladin, Feng, gripped his sword, and although he looked unnerved, he didn't retreat an inch. Mei was the same, clutching her claws ready to fight to the death. There were also many other brave students like them, getting into their battle stances. Lin took a step forward with skeletal warriors leading the charge, and Lin following closely behind. Charlotte, with a face full of anxiety, asked Lin what he was doing. Stomping her foot in frustration, Charlotte followed him. Lin demanded that she go back, but Charlotte refused. Lin didn't say anything else. Lin's sudden movement caught many people's attention. Seeing the army of skeletal warriors that Lin had summoned, they were torn on whether to follow. In the end, only about a dozen people followed after Lin. Feng and Mei were among them. All were prepared to lay down their lives. The demon from the abyss sneered, "Ah, finally some come to offer their lives." The demon gave an offer, to spare their lives if they become the demon's slaves. Lin ignored the demon's words. He suddenly halted, making the demon believe that Lin has agreed to his offer. The voice of the demon echoed again, suggesting the gates of the abyss were always open for him. At this moment, a faint smile could be seen on Lin's face. The maximum range of his corpse explosion skill was 100 meters, with 50 meters being the median. It was a distance both safe and adequate. Everyone looked at Lin with confusion. Lin estimated the distance and thought it was sufficient. A pale blue glow appeared in his hand, and Lin whispered, pointing forward with his finger. Whoosh! A legion of skeletal warriors rose from the ground. A full 100 skeletal warriors. To everyone's astonishment, the skeletal warriors charged at the corrupted lizardmen warriors like bolts of lightning. Mei noticed the speed of the skeletal warriors was incredibly fast. As a shadow hunter, she was known for her agility, but compared to the skeletal warriors, she realized her speed was far inferior to the skeletal warriors. In the blink of an eye, the skeletal warriors have engaged in a furious fight with the corrupted lizardmen warriors. A thought passed through Lin's mind, and dazzling red lights radiated from the blades held by the skeletal warriors. Several skeletal warriors simultaneously used their rampage strikes on a single corrupted lizardman warrior. Streaks of red light descended, and the corrupted orc warrior's health was depleting rapidly. Corrupted by the abyssal power, these lizardmen warriors had become incredibly strong. But then, the lizardmen warriors retaliated. Their massive blades slammed down on the skeletal warriors. Lin could feel his skeletal warriors getting slightly injured one after another. He quickly assessed the attributes of these monsters. The two parties continue exchanging blows. The blades in the hands of the skeletal warriors never ceased, continuously striking the corrupted lizardmen warriors. Ignoring their injuries, several skeletal warriors focused their full force on a single lizardmen warrior. Seconds later, one of the lizardmen warriors fell to the ground. The system displayed, "You have slain level 19 corrupted lizardmen warrior. Experience plus 8,000. Lin realized his initial guess was correct. The experience was somewhat minimal, but something was better than nothing. He then raised his hands, and a red glow appeared from the palm of his hand. Boom! An unexpected explosion echoed, followed by a scene that left the students in disbelief. The seemingly powerful lizardmen warriors were falling like weeds under a scythe. Countless explosion sounds, shaking the earth, and within several seconds, all the lizardmen warriors lay dead. The damage caused by a corpse explosion is calculated based on the maximum health of the corpse. The higher the health points of the corpse, the greater the explosive power. The examinees looked at Lin in disbelief. Everyone was dumbstruck. One by one, they trembled with excitement. Richard knelt on the ground, unable to believe how powerful Lin truly was. Not only did the examinees were in shock, but even the abyssal demon couldn't accept it. He shouted, "Impossible! This can't be!" The demon was furious, threatening to kill Lin. Amidst the shrieks, the crimson moonlight suddenly burst forth a more powerful radiance. Another batch of monsters appeared from all directions. This time, the monsters spread out widely. As soon as they appeared, they charged towards the group of students. Lin looked up at the crimson moon. A dark silhouette seemingly appeared on the blood moon. Lin gave a command to the skeletal warrior. Several skeletal suddenly lifted the corpse of a lizardmen warrior, hurling it towards the blood moon. Following closely, Lin leaped towards the blood moon like a sharp arrow. The abyssal demon panicked, his voice trembling. Lin didn't speak, just coldly stared with murderous intent in his eyes. As the lizard man's corpse approached the shadow on the blood moon, Lin detonated it. With a deafening roar, Lin then unleashed the soul flame. The abyssal demon let out a painful scream, but he didn't die. Another flame appeared above the shadow, eliciting another scream from it. The demon demanded to know Lin's profession, questioning why he could scorch its soul. Lin remained silent, continuously unleashing the soul flame. The shadow, although still screaming, had become extremely weak. Outside the trial tower, 3 powerful figures watched the tower with grave expressions. The exclamation from the elderly man broke the tense silence, indicating a significant decrease in the interference from the abyssal energy. White Divine, with his anxiety intensifying, feared that all students inside the tower might have perished. However, the elder's words provided some relief to the White Divine. The students were still alive, but it seemed the abyssal demon had been injured. This was puzzling for the White Divine. With the demon manipulating the rules of the battling realm, how could a group of students injure it? Inside the battling realm, the madness of the abyssal demon was evident. Its focus shifted entirely to Lin, ordering all of the corrupted lizardmen warriors to change their targets, homing in on Lin. But Lin remained unflustered. He was aware that his corpse explosion skill had evolved to the next level, making it even more powerful. He stared coldly at the charging monsters, his skeletal army standing firm, ready for the imminent confrontation. The frenzied demon continued its roars from the blood moon, its voice brimming with malice and insanity. It seemed to have forgotten its primary objective and only wanted to kill Lin.